So welcome everybody to our second Saturday's poetry reading. We do this every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Kerr, and I have the privilege of being your moderator. The poetry reading course is hosted by Dr. Richard Bronson, our poet laureate. The speakers are brought to us by Kathy Donnelly. So my role is basically just to moderate the event and try to make it as interactive and as smooth and make sure that every voice is heard. So if you would like to, and we do start at roughly 11 o'clock, so we should move on here. If you'd like to participate in the open read, please, all you need to do is to type your name in chat. Everyone who puts their name in chat, I'll call upon them when we get the open read in the order that the names appear, and we'll call you in groups of 3. If you are chat challenged or for some reason you can't figure out how to get your name into chat that you want to read, fear not. Between Richard and Kathy, we'll go around and we'll make sure that everyone who wants to read gets an opportunity to read. I've muted everybody. Please keep your microphone muted so we don't get the barking dog, the ringing phone, the slamming doors and so forth. I think JR I think wrote a poem about that. So if you want a poem about interruptions during Zoom, then just ask JR for a copy of that poem. That's where you can send us feedback. We do believe feedback is a gift, so we review the feedback regularly with Dr. Bronson and with Kathy. We've been doing this now for about 18 months, I think, virtually, but we continue to refine it with your input. So I encourage you to give us input. So we started roughly 11. I'll get you all settled and welcomed and get everything all set up. I'll turn it over to Dr. Bronson, and then he generally reads a poem or two, and he will introduce the featured poet. We're very fortunate to have Poet Laureate of Nassau County, Evelyn Kandel, with us today. Then we'll move on to the open read. Again, put your name in chat. We'll bring Evelyn back for an encore, and then we'll bring back Richard for some concluding remarks and also to announce who the next reader is in April. Again, we do this every month. So those of you joining us for the first time, we're very grateful that you're here. Please come back as well the second month of April. This program, the fact that we host this program, this is one of many outreach programs here at All Souls Church. So we are the little historical church on the top of the hill in Stony Brook, been there since before the Civil War. The building itself has been there since 1896. It's on the National Registry, designed by Stanford White. And the church is there morphed. There are people who worship there, but we really are there for the community. So we do a whole bunch of things to serve the community. Just you'll notice those of you who are regulars, I mixed up the pictures a little bit. So we do concerts once a month. Some of you are familiar with the Jazz Loft in Stony Brook will recognize that that's Tom Manuel and his wife Laura. They perform at least once a year for us. So we do concerts every month called Saturdays at 6 concerts in the church. We do an interdenominational rosary. You'll recognize the guy there with his Stony Brook sweatshirt. And that's my wife, Susan, with the rosary beads in her hand. That's an interdenominational rosary. So we've combined the Roman Catholic, the Anglican, and the Greek, and the Roman Catholic, Anglican, and the Greek Orthodox tradition. So it's a rosary that everyone can feel comfortable in. We've actually had some Muslims join us as well for the rosary. So we do the rosary. That we actually do once a week. We do that on Wednesdays. You'll recognize the 2 former poet laureates there. So that is the ceremonial passing of the twig from Robert Savino to Barbara Southard. So there was a time we did the poetry in the church. We've been doing it virtually since shortly after the pandemic. At some point, we may go back to the church, but we found by doing it virtually, actually, the attendance actually has doubled. We also do Native American drumming once a month as well. There's our Native American drummer. That is a meditating healing experience, comes out of the Native American tradition. Our Native American drummer, his bloodline is from Colombia, South America. He's also a practicing chiropractor as well. So he brings the scientific element to it. You'll recognize the gentleman in the lower right-hand corner. That's Rabbi Adam Fisher. We also do an interdenominational prayer service every Tuesday morning. And Rabbi Fisher was one of many local clergy that we brought in to preach on that. Also, the doors of the church are open every day. And every day that the doors are open, we collect food. So you see the little arrows there up the top. That's the little food box as people enter the church. And on the right is where the food goes. It goes to a Roman Catholic church, St. St. Gerard Mejia, they feed about 200 people in the Port Jefferson, Terryville area. There are once a year where we combine poetry, we combine our music ministry, and we combine the Native American drumming. And we call this a special concert, a Saturdays at 6 concert that we do, where we have various poets come in and read sacred readings. We have students from the university perform. We have our Native American drummer actually do some Native American drumming as well. It's a very special event. We're going to be doing that on August 6th this year in the church. I encourage you all to come. And the last thing before I turn it over to Dr. Bronson, when we were in the church, and Gladys Henderson probably knows this better than anybody, lovely church, but it's at the top of the hill. And we've got a whole bunch of people that for various reasons can't make it up that hill. So this will be the 14th year. You might want to mark your calendars for October 2nd. We'll be doing our Souls for All Souls 5K race, 2K walk. And it'll be the 14th year that we've done that. Every year we have a group that you have the opportunity to race in the 5K or do the 2K walk. So we have a group of poets called the Live Poets Society that walks every year. That happens to be the picture of them walking last year. So you'll recognize those poets there in the front row with their sign. Every year we change the color of the shirts. So every year we'll change the color of the sign as well. But please consider joining the Live Poets Society that day. And this does two things. It celebrates the role of the church in the community, and it also raises funds to make the church accessible to all. Through the various fundraising activities, so far we've raised over $60,000 for the project. And our vision is to have some type of ramp or some type of system to make it accessible to all. And also the church does not have a bathroom. So either we put a bathroom in the church or we put one on the property. So again, on behalf of the folks at All Souls, we're very grateful to have you with us. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Richard. Richard, over to you.
Well, welcome everyone. I look forward to this reading every month. It's my favorite reading, the second Saturday. And I am very happy to be able to welcome Evelyn Kandel, who's the current Nassau County Poet Laureate. And she's been very, very active for years in the PPA. In fact, I remember years ago reading, I guess it was in Port Jeff at this little venue of basically an art gallery. And I remember in the middle of a reading, my beeper went off, so it was like the doctor on call, even, at the reading. So Evelyn basically has an interesting background. She's a Marine sergeant in the past. She's quite well published and been a teacher of poetry in Great Neck in terms of adult education. As I said, she's been a host for years for the PPA. And I'm sure we're in for a wonderful, wonderful reading. I thought I would start the morning by just reading a couple of poems from my book that just was published recently in Perfect Knowledge. And I'll read two poems. The first is what's called an acrostic poem, which means it comes from observing an art object. In this case, it was a painting by the German expressionist painter Otto Dix, who was had been a machine gunner in World War I and suffered through what was happening in Germany between the wars. And it's called On Viewing a Portrait by Otto Dix. A broad schmiss across his cheek, full lips pursed as if to suppress a smile. Dr. Hans Koch wears pince-nez, a white lab coat, collar up, sleeves rolled to the elbows. He stands by a chair with metal stirrups, instruments scattered on a nearby table. A tourniquet in one hand, glass syringe in the other, its long needle facing me. And I am 12 years old once again, my doctor father looking up at me, coming home from a ball game. His big black bag open on the kitchen table, a syringe in his hand. I hated his office, its pungent smells, the stranger he became with his white tunic, his mirrored monocle through which he gazed at me. This is for you. There's a polio epidemic. You need gamma globulin, 5 cc's in your butt. For me, no. Stop whining as he filled the syringe. Let's get on with it. So he felt he was the best doctor in the Bronx, only he could care for his family. And yeah, I suffered through that. The second poem I'm going to read comes from my internship at Bellevue Hospital many moons ago. Found in the street, you were dead drunk, smelling of piss, swollen toes, bursting, shredded socks, legs, a mottled sea of cellulitis, soaks in antibiotics, a week of sheltered rest, a haircut, a shave, revealed a man my own age. In the intern's bright office, a cloistering darkness around us. We talked past midnight, two guys in our 20s, as the city murmured through an open window, the ward of sleepy men as witness. We offered what we had, found you a place to address your addiction. For the one task required to arrive on your own, we gave you the means, $10 placed in your hand to travel by bus out of the city. Clean but not healed, $10 burning your pocket. You left our care and we wished you Godspeed. Well, we should move on, of course, to the featured reader today. And I want to welcome Evelyn to the Zoom podium and look forward to your reading. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Stony Brook is a familiar place to me. We had a summer house here for many, 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 many years. We just sold it actually last month. And so the church and the okay. Oh,
You're back, Evelyn.
am I unmuted?
You're back
Yeah.
now.
Am I back?
Yep.
Okay. All right. To start, I will place us where we are. We're in March. So here's a March deficit. It slipped away. So busy I didn't notice. Mustn't do that again. Can't afford to lose a month anymore. And to place us in more.
Evelyn, you muted again. You must be inadvertently pressing a button there. So that's it. Just come back. You just turn your mic back on. There you go. Just don't press any more buttons. You're back.
Maybe.
You're fine. Just don't press any buttons. We can hear you fine. You did it again. Okay, stop. So just all you need to do is talk, and then
Okay.
you'll be fine.
Saturday. Today is a day to enjoy sloth. It is not a catch-up day. It is not the time to put the house in order. It is permissible to wear slippers, not shoes, to have 2 cups of coffee, to look at the cold, icy yard and not go out, not make plans to take down the Christmas tree or remove traces of last week's joy. It is a settling down with a good book, watching a funny show on Netflix, calling friends in California at the same time. This day is a no check the calendar day and not starting to call making appointments because today is Saturday. Okay. I write a lot of poems about writing poems and the difficulty in writing poems. So this is one, and it's called, surprisingly, Writing Poems. Starting things late in life, like writing poetry, there's no way to catch up. So many poets to read, Orpheus, Homer I might handle, but Hesiod, Archilochus, Alcman, I can't even pronounce them. And that is only the beginning. Milton, Spencer, Chaucer, Browning, Whitman, Tennyson, Pound, Eliot, Frost, Moore, who actually taught me poetry at Columbia, Stein, Stevens, who did not. That only brings us to now, I need another lifetime just to browse the 19th and 20th, and I don't have it. I'd like to be a minor poet, but even that modest wish is probably in vain. So what do I do with the words rolling in my mind that spill out so satisfactorily on the page? Even when they fall out like twisted, half-cooked pasta, I still love to push them around, making designs on my plate. And this is the Marine speaking here. There should be a law. There are so many ugly things happening that make our world so unpleasant a place to live in that we need some new laws. Here's a few to start. There should be a law requiring everyone to stop and really look at something beautiful they hadn't noticed before, and do it at least once a day. There should be a law making truck drivers paint the back of those huge blank monsters with colorful designs or pictures so cars behind would be entertained. There should be a law requiring people jaywalking to say thanks to cars that stop to let them pass instead of running them over. The same goes for drivers trying to enter a long line of traffic. If someone lets them in, they should say thanks and give them a thumbs up. And maybe a law that encourages walkers to greet one another as they pass with a smile, a nod, or even for extra points, to stop and say, hello, how are you today? There might be a reason to believe these happy laws could pass. Since Congress is taking away so much, maybe there's a chance they might give us something back. Or maybe not. I have a thing about trees for some reason. So it seems that this past year or so, I've been writing a lot of poems about trees, and this is called Miracles #2. What can I say of fragile branches gesturing from topmost limits of each neighborhood tree? What perfection can I write to give justice to my emotions in reply to their tender greetings, delicate movements against the blue? Holders of round seeds, each delicately held aloft, bathed in sunshine, safe in the cold air. How do I understand what's so cleverly contained in these locked boxes of spring's greenness when I do not know the key? Wind holds its breath, waits until each branch, thin guardian, releases them to drop to welcoming earth. Then, only then, do I hear the turning of the key, the lock gently dissolving, seeds bursting their bondage, and spring begins again. Well, before I was a poet for a very long time, I was an artist. And one of the bedrooms in our townhouse was my painting studio. And so at one point, my son moved back for a little while. And so all that stuff got moved. And this is about the writing studio where I once did art. A studio should be uncluttered. Everything in its place. Well, mine spills out tangled papers everywhere. If I could empty my mind, I could organize it. If it were an Arizona landscape, I would have space enough for everything. My old art studio was not Arizona, Journals push paint tubes for room, canvases salt behind the desk, surfaces piled with papers, no room to actually write. Tomorrow, it will be organized. Surfaces cleared, books in rows. There will be room to compose. The road to Arizona runs straight to the horizon. Tomorrow, I'll clean, but it's 6 a.m., so I'll pull over and sleep. So here I am again. I go to Northport VA for various things. I have a doctor and nurse out there, and my husband does also, who is also a Korean vet, and he informs everybody he was in Korea. I was only in during Korea. Okay, winding back roads. In this busy rush of traffic on highways, mad dashing cars weave in and out, each trying to slip ahead into faster lanes, saving maybe a minute of their commute. I'll take the back road instead. The yellow line curves and straightens in the cadence of a slow military march. I'll take the back way, not the fast way. Heavy branches weighted with green salute as I pass, eyes straight ahead. Green fingers reach across the roadway, making a canopy above me. Liquid sun splashes on gray cement. Melted yellow ribbons of light slip between parted leaves while shadows play hide and seek. And where am I going on this blessed autumn day? So quickly, I do not see my life flashing by. The road will end sooner than you know. Drive the back road with me. And so, whoops. I'm going to now read from a couple of my books. The first is from the first book that was published by a Texas publishing house called Shorelines, a play on the lines you write and the fact that we live, or I live here on the shore. So here is Shorelines. One perfect day. I like the sound of feet on the wooden walk, setting the rhythm for each step. Around waves sing a cadence, match each puff of my breath in flawless harmony. The air smells of fish and sun, a clean, fresh bouquet. Incoming tide coats rocks with sandy foam. A perfect day to remember, when wind's brutal beat hurls snow against cold boards and forbids the walker. And a poem from my book, Tracing My Shadow, and the painting on the book is my painting of me in the window. And the poem is Looking at Old Photos. And when I go back to write poems about my past was kind of a sad one. My mother died when I was 8. And as I was talking to Richard, the only family I have is in Scotland. So it was just my father and I. So some of my memories are not too happy. On looking at old photographs, the vast lawn, smell of warm summer, my mother on a hospital balcony with a thin, uncertain smile calls, "Hello, dear," looking at my father. She comes home, her brown hair gray, cropped close to her skull. I am 7. She is strange, says, hello, little girl, and doesn't know me at all. I grow still, curled within myself. Beneath my blank face, I rage and rage. Mother, why have you left me? I'm here alone. I'm afraid. Okay. And I wrote a book consisting of 30 poems written in 30 days that James Wagner published and ran the contest, and I won first prize. I wrote 30 poems in 30 days, and the music that inspired each one. And the one I'm going to read is The Girl with Flaxen Hair, the music by Claude Debussy. An oboe takes me to a place where sadness and happiness are forever linked together in my mind. I wish for a sweet memory, never changing, never spoiled, where I am the little girl with the white blonde hair, where there are no bad dreams and I am loved, like the girl in the song, like the girl with the flaxen hair. And I will read 3 poems from my most recent book, which is called Let There Be Clouds. And the book contains 30 poems and 30 photographs of the sky and the clouds. And I would take the photograph first and then write a poem to it. So the first is Collage. Whoops. Okay, back in space. Okay, Collage. I'm afraid if I held it up, you wouldn't probably be able to see, but I'll give it a shot. That's the photo. Like the softest touch of white pastel pasted on blue paper, clouds sweep in transparent strokes, an artist's picture of peaceful nature. The second is Artistry in the Sky. Whoop. And this is the same photo as the one on the cover, which I was very lucky to take that picture. It was quite incredible. Artistry in the Sky. Constable with all stops pulled out, reveling in his mastery, translating clouds and sky into paint and canvas. Christo flinging white fabric to the skies, wrapping Central Park along the horizon in bleached cotton. Santa's sleigh racing over mounds of crystalline snow, not to be outdone. Spectacular afternoon display. And for my last poem, Easter on the Beach, which is what we do in Glen Cove with ministers from all congregations. Spread across the sky like a billboard on a building in Times Square, a giant advertisement for a never-before event, now appearing for today only, spectacular, brashly announcing. Greco-Roman white, billowing clouds, filling the painted sky blue backdrop, masses upon masses climbing upward from horizon to top of domed space. We watched from the park by the water as we celebrated this holy day, thinking, you got to love how he does things. God really does work in miraculous ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evelyn. That was just wonderful. The range of poetry, starting with the March deficit, reminding us of the unique aspects of Saturday, writing poems later in life. I love that there ought to be a law for Marines. I was thinking of Kurt Vonnegut's the Cat's Cradle, when the Marine general said there ought to be a law that we ought to get rid of mud, all the problems that created. The miracles of the trees, the reorganizing the studio, the winding back roads. You know, as a kid growing up in Ashroke, and I'm looking at Linda Dickman on the screen there, and someone, all of us who knows Northport know those back roads. We were there with you. The perfect day from Shoreline, looking at those old photos, those poignant moments between you and your mom there as a little girl, just beautiful. And the girl with the flaxen hair, and the lovely synergy you created between the photos and the poems on the collage and the artist in the sky and Easter on the beach. Just a wonderful, wonderful way to end, particularly for those of us of the Christian tradition, you know, going into Lent. Just a beautiful, wonderful reading. We look forward to having you back for the encore. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears here a little bit. And I recognize, looking at the list here, we've got some people who are with us for the first time. So just by way of a little reminder here, we do want to make sure every voice is heard. But in order for every voice to be heard, we have to kind of have some norms and expectations there. So we have the commandments of the open read is, again, enter your name in chat. And I've got all the names that have been entered in. And those of you who came in late, I kind of confirmed that I have your name. Please only one poem, and please no more than 5 minutes. So one poem and less than 5 minutes, please. Keep your microphone muted until you're called upon. And then we'll bring back Richard for at the close, and we'll bring back Evelyn for an encore. And we'll probably say we go to 12, but if necessary, we can flex until 12:30. My guess is, based on the number of readers here, we'll probably end up a little bit after 12. So let me get rid of that screen. And I'm going to call you, everybody, please, in groups of 3. And when I call you, be prepared to put your mic back on. So the first group of 3 is Barbara, and then James, and then Linda. So Barbara, I think there's only one Barbara today, so life should be simple. So Barbara, over to you if you could put your mic on, please.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
And I'm the right Barbara. Yay. Okay, this is Tigers. Stars glitter branches, still blustering from the storm. Snow crunching beneath my boots. The world now fresh, clear, and cold. The day's questions and fears now at rest. Morning's bright sun paints looping purple shadows on the snowy hillside. Light filters through a row of rhododendron's slack-leaved branches. Memories of yesterday's raging fears, quiet now in their cages. Quiet, resting tigers today. I will find them, these beasts, bring them out from the shadows. I will face them when they are hungry, on the prowl. I will stand. I will roar.
Great, Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we're over to James from North Carolina. The voice of North Carolina. We always generally get 2 readers from North Carolina. James, over to you.
Okay. Fine war hard to believe. People die and desperate dogs bark. They destroy houses around a park. So much smoke along with flame. Things again will never be the same. Buildings are tilted and others leaning while bullets and shells go careening. Bodies are on the streets and on lawns lie. Such a horrible way for them to die. God, peace and quiet for us do bring. And church songs we will start to sing while worshiping him with endeavor. Going to war again, hope not ever. Putin majesty, have heard that his strategy would be pure tragedy. Putin, one of a real oddball that we knew we should send him to Peru. When the war would start, country had been torn apart. Putin should have a heart. What was on menu? Putin war would continue. Have died quite a few. Here is another day. For the war, Putin must pay. Stay out of our way. And lastly, what we do intend is the war to meet an end. Home our soldiers send.
Thank you, James.
Amen.
Moving and quite timely as well. Okay, let's go back to Northport with Linda.
Good morning, everybody. And Evelyn, thank you for lifting us up so early and so lovely. This is called the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time. The greeting over, music echoed off the curved ceiling, signaling worship. Mother, sister, brother, smiling, file into a row under the watchful stained glass eyes of Mother Teresa, St. Patrick, and all the saints. Sister wrapped around her mother, disentangles, migrates across the pew, reconnects, mischievous snuggle. Brother, reeling in their hands like turtles in cotton shells, releasing them into not so silent finger play. Partially obscured by blonde oak, brother, sister, brother, blonde to blonde head, tapped by Brazil nut brown head. Secret messages passing between smiling faces, their own music, presided over by a comfortable, freckled, flaxen-haired mother. Smells of broken bread and wine drew them out, down the long aisle, angelic parade, ambling unevenly toward the servers. Upon their return, faces drawn heavenward, a respectful glimpse, crossing themselves as Father, Son, and Holy Ghost smiled from their mosaic perches. The antics resumed. Not wanting to withdraw them, ears remain exposed just above the shells, hearing none but the exultant sounds of nestling, chortle, giggle, a far better sermon. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any kid who's ever gone to church with their mother. So, okay, I goofed in my count. I assumed there were two Barbaras. There was only one. So this I'm going to call a group of two. And that would be Rabbi Fisher, followed by Herb. So Adam, over to you first.
This is very short. It's called Texas Fascism. The Nazis required everyone to turn in Jews. The Chinese rely on informants to enforce their rule. Texas tells informants to turn in abortion seekers. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Short, but quite meaningful. Herb, over to you.
Okay, I unmuted. Okay, this poem is dedicated to refugees from around the world, and it was published in the Sachem High School newspaper on December 4, 1970. Dirge. A tribe is strewn like sand on a desert plain. Its oasis is dead. Somehow, its oasis became a feast for locusts. A long drought followed and evaporated everything except sand and people. Futilely, the tribe tried to nurture seeds in the countless miles of surrounding dunes. Also, it tried to find meat, yet it found only reptilian hearts and petrified skulls. Choking gulps of mirages were drunk. Soon, it became a feast for preying lions and hyenas and scavenging vultures and worms. Now, all that remain are bleached bones being buried slowly by sandstorms on a desert plain. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Very moving. Okay, Next group of three is JR and Nina and Victoria. So JR, over to you.
Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Evelyn. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so this is called Marching On. Father and mother reign over time and nature. He moves moon, sun, and stars for her, seasons every plate he dishes to her, showers her with gifts to reign at her feet. She dons foxgloves, cleans and polishes snow-dusted gardens, kisses crocuses awake even as snowdrops fall, sets roses to growing, buttercups the faces of smiling daffodils. He hails the earth with cartons of kittens and puppies, meowing and yowling for stormy thunderbolts to stop, pelts of slanting rain to cease falling, start calling bouquet bounties and early harvest to rise and shine. She trumpets forth with voluptuous strawberries, bushels of corn, petunias, peas, and zinnias, countless cucumbers and slice-worthy tomatoes, bright-eyed daisies, pansies, and Brussels sprouts. He monarchs an end to balmy days of spring planting. Mild, unseasonable weather halts in furrowed rows. Squalls of crystalline flakes fall, swirl, and eddy. She knows he hates Brussels sprouts. She will not be fooled with, bares her breast to rain milks of almost summer seeds to settle, to dig beneath frozen layers of loam and peat. He knows she always has the last word. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Very colorful as always. Now those Brussels sprouts over your shoulder there on the right? I see you have a green vegetable there. So great. Okay, Nina, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan. And excuse me. And thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Evelyn. It was wonderful to hear you. So this is a recent poem, and I just wanted to mention that there are two names in here, Finnegan and Chance. They're my lovely little felines. It's called Should I Fear Death? Through linen curtains, the moon is waiting for day to end, rises gracefully, shy to step onto the scene, while the sun, once the whole show, hangs for a moment, blasts the sky with fire and descends slowly to earth. These are halcyon years, youth no longer striving, no more drama, exploring self, seeing, listening, no longer attached to silver or lovers. On the grill, a porterhouse steak, well marbled, Chance and Finn stare through the screen, riveted, ears twitching, chattering for birds. Should I not fear death, love at the bleak horizon, sensual, mere memory intertwined? Sometimes I fear I will be caught off guard. My body suddenly fails, the breath fades, eyes close into dark. Inevitably, it will happen. But I want to have had my thirst quenched, my body full, and feel the curled up love of my boys, kiss remembered lovers, and catch the moon rising through the stars.
Victoria, you've got to come off mute.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is a poem I wrote quite a while ago, but I thought it was appropriate. I may not see you folks. I think the next reading is going to be before Easter. So it's called Pietà. And when I was quite young, I went to the World's Fair and got to see the Pietà at the World's Fair. And I was so taken by it that my one thing I wanted my parents to let me take home as a souvenir was a little statue of the Pietà. It was absolutely beautiful to me. But anyway, so Pietà. I see the warm flesh beneath the cold marble, the sinew tensing within the rock, the bones protruding outward, wet tears just below the rigid crust, something breathing within the icy stone. Good mother, your son is lost, and you are forever imprisoned by a suffocating mystery. In this eternal parting, the rusty nails of injustice have left an empty space that can never be filled. Behold the one who, like us, must walk his path alone. Behold the mother who must understand. Michelangelo, you were true of heart, but had not pity. For in your blindness and your vision, you tore the dead rock from the mountainside, and in your fever of unrequited love gave it life. Did you not realize this stone would cry forever?
It was beautiful. I also, as a kid, went to see the Pieta at the World's Fair. Just a beautiful poem. Thank you. Okay, the next group of three is Emily Sue, followed by Susan Dingle, and then followed by Dan Kerr. Emily Sue, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Evelyn. I enjoyed your reading. I'm going to read a new poem called Resistance for the people of Ukraine. Here, crocuses paint brown grass lavender in the safety of the warming earth. Buds barely visible on trees and forsythia listen for cues. Songbirds test their voices after a long season of silence. There, snows swirl, not enough to extinguish the fires, the screams, the darkness pooling in the rubble of homes, where sunflowers will someday break through, each one carrying a name.
Thank you, Emily Sue.
Thank you.
Very, very timely. Susan Dingle. Susan, you got to turn your mic on. Give her a second. Okay. Also, while we're waiting for Susan, if anyone came in late and wants to read, just put your name in the open chat. Give Susan another second there. Okay. I think she may have dropped off. Don't see her. Okay, so let's go to Dan Kerr. And this is not a poem that I wrote. One of our North Carolina poets is Mike Daly, who wrote a wonderful book of poetry in honor of folks who serve in the military. And that's a very amazing calling to serve in the military. And this one is called Somewhere Tonight a Soldier Stands. But the poem I'm going to read is not a poem from this book. The poem I'm going to read is one that Mike sent me. And he sent me a little cover note. He couldn't come today because he had to go to a memorial service. He said, I wrote this poem in the back queue of our church on the back of the bulletin, the Sunday bulletin. I couldn't wait until I got home to finish writing it. If I could write music, that one would be a gospel song. At least it was in my head when I wrote it. And the poem is called You Are There. And it goes, you are there. May the bullets and bombs be quiet and calm. May the Spirit of God cleanse the air. May your love and your light bring them comfort this night, Lord. May they know you are there for them. Lord, may they know you are there. There are husbands and wives living their lives in peace with their neighbors for years. But Lord, something's gone wrong. The peace, it is gone, replaced now with sorrows and tears. May the bullets and bombs be quiet and calm. May the Spirit of God cleanse the air. May your love and your light bring them comfort this night. Lord, may they know you are there. For them, Lord, may you know you are there. They pray in the trenches, behind walls and fences. Their voices ring out with praise. They plead for their lives, all those husbands and wives who now live in these troubling days. May the bullets and bombs be quiet and calm. May the Spirit of God cleanse the air. May your love and your light bring them comfort this night. Lord, may they know you are there. Lord, may they know you are there. Thank you, Mike. Okay, the next group of three, it looks like Shu and then Karen, and the third name I can't, oh, the third name is Gladys. So Shu and then Karen and then Gladys. And we'll pick up any others who weren't on the list when we get done with those three. So Shu, over to you.
I post the poem on the chat if you, so you can follow. The title is Rainy Day. It was a rainy day. Sheltered myself in a bookstore, holding the same book in our hands. We exchanged our first smile while stepping out. It was a sunny day. We ran into each other in the park, felt like an old friend not seen for a long time. We discussed the characters in the book. It was a cloudy day. We sat in a cafe, tasted the bitter end of the story in the book. It was a snow day. We held each other in front of the fireplace, the burning fire, witnessed our own love story. It is a rainy day. The books on the shelf covered by dust. Sitting in the lover's seat, try to forget you. Yeah.
Thank you, Shu. Wonderful interplay between weather and emotion. Very well done. Okay, Karen, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. This was written after last month's storm. It's called Along the Fence. After the snow come the geese down from the sky, knowing where to land. They navigate the flat ice field, searching for small patches of soaked mud and grass, graze on what they find, fixed on filling their bellies, stop at the wrought fence as though it's their tipping point, keeping them tethered between the feeding fields and an unknown human presence, never venturing past that border, while the sun moves westward, glows as it dips, leaving pools of coral tint on glazed surfaces. With dusk thickening, some of the geese become watchful, others begin to merge into shapeless groupings on ground, restless to take the first lift upward, avoid the fence to one side, point south to the marshes and reeds, each following the other. They rise slowly in uncertain unison, begin their formation, their perfect V, an artist's signature, sketched on a darkening canvas as the day closes down and they are no longer there. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, well done. And Gladys, over to you. Remind everyone, if you're not reading, please keep your mic on mute so we don't get the background noise. Gladys, you got to turn your mic on. Okay, give Gladys a second there. Gladys? Okay, we'll give her another second. Gladys, going once. There you go, Gladys. We can hear you, Gladys.
Okay, you're not going to be able to get the, there you go.
You are there in all your glory. Your voice, oh, you just now, we've got your face, but we don't have your mic. So given a choice, got to turn your mic back on. If we lose the video, it's more important that we get your voice unless you want a sign language. Because you're still on mute. There you go. Perfect. Don't touch anything else.
I just want you to know I'm not touching this. It's doing on and off on its own. I'm not even going to breathe. I'm not breathing. A tender light. Delicate sun on the trees this morning, like the fragile hands of my Aunt Grace, who would lift me up into her lap and read comments aloud to me while I rested my head on her checkered apron, perfumed with starch, cinnamon, and her body. I would sit for hours, drugged by her attention, a little juiced up 4-year-old, overdosing on love. She never married, died before her noon, the duty-tied sibling of my father, who with Rembrandt formality moved along a path short-lived and dropped quietly into the unknown darkness. Today I climb the platform to board the train for Brooklyn, feel her presence in the tender morning light. I lean into its presence.
Thank you, Gladys. That was very moving and well worth waiting for. Okay, so we've got two other names.
Thank you.
Two other names that I picked up. So we have Don and then Hiram. I noticed you put something in chat, so I'll get you, and then we'll get anyone else who we might have missed. So Don,
I'd like to read as well.
Sasha, we'll get everybody at the end.
Okay.
First, I'll put you as the third there. So Sasha, it's the third. And anyone else, I assure you, will give you a chance to read. So the next three will be Don, and then Hiram, and then Sasha. So Don, you've got to turn your mic on, get our undivided attention.
Okay, this is my reflection on the current situation in Europe. It's a two-part poem. The first was written 9 days before the invasion. It's called, Is This 1938 Again? The threat of war, how it hangs over Europe again. Tanks and soldiers waiting while Ukraine goes about its business. Words threaten sanctions. Will sanctions bring back the dead? Is no one willing to stop this? Is this 1938 again? Russian soldiers in tanks and trucks, waiting their orders. How many will they kill? Who sends them to conquer and kill? A man, evil and cunning. He controls the gas and the soldiers. Europe needs the gas. Is this 1938 again? Just how far will this go? Which country is next? Who will answer for the dead? War is a crime carried out by men. Is this 1938 again? Of course, the references to when the Nazis moved into Austria and then Czechoslovakia and then Poland, and nobody stopped them. Second half of the poem is called Ukraine. This is kind of how it stands today. How the rockets fly and the bombs do fall. People flee and they're hiding in cellars while the world watches and wonders. He holds the button on final oblivion. He said it was an exercise, thousands of soldiers in trucks and tanks. He made demands as if the ruler of Europe. After all, he holds the button on final oblivion. We see the buildings crumbling, fires blazing, unarmed crowds standing to stop trucks and tanks. A Russian soldier crying was given food and a phone to call his mother. The rockets fly, how far will this go? Why was this done? Who will account for the dead? The destruction of a nation at peace. Thank you.
Well done. Hiram, over to you.
Well, thank you, Dan. That was an amazing poem, Don. Thanks for sharing that. And I apologize about trigger finger on posting my poem in the chat room. I had it posted and I thought I was being real fancy dancy, and then I accidentally hit the return button and it posted. So I'm going to post it again so you can follow along. Like others have said in the chat, I just find it kind of helpful sometimes to be able to read along as the poet is presenting the poem. So this poem is a little bit older. My father, as I recall, I don't ever remember my father cursing. He never cursed. But when he got really frustrated, he'd say, "Boy, howdy." I have no idea where that came from, but I can remember him kind of shaking his head, frustrated, "Boy, howdy." This poem first appeared in a journal called Broadkill Review, and it's titled, "Boy, Howdy." Modern life hurts me. Would that I could die in the arms of seed catalogs, or turn over in a bed and feel snow coming in the window. My father taught me to wave at life from cherished corners. His coat pockets were really my teenage years. Carry on is how I feel now. So may these lines become as strikingly handsome as hands on a shoulder. May they cause strangers to look up again and again. May the hope in these lines age well like chewed pencils, or turn into stale crumbs that birds will fight over. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Hiram. Very well done. Okay, Sasha, over to you, and we'll get anyone else who wants to read as well. But Sasha, over to you.
Okay, I have to.
Okay, Sasha, you just muted yourself, so just hit it once more.
Okay.
There, you're fine. We can hear you now.
Okay, great. Evelyn, thank you for a very wonderful reading. It was great. In homage to Carlos Williams, so much depends upon a playground. No need for monarchist, anarchist, warlord to oversee swings, slide, sandbox. No need for truce, amnesty, protester, or picket. No need to be smothered by success or wrestle with failure. No need to account for the layers of life we collect. A simple pail and shovel will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha. Well done. Okay, so just give me a second while I clear the chat here. So we've gone through the complete list of everyone who said they wanted to read in advance, but usually at this stage, Kathy being one of them, there's someone who would like to read. So if you'd like to just wave your hand. Who was that? That was Virginia? Okay, okay, we'll get everybody. So Virginia, over to you first. You turn on your mic. Virginia, you have to turn your mic on.
Yeah, I think I'm on, right?
You're on now, yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Dan. I want to thank Evelyn for that beautiful poem about her mother. It was just a marvelous poem. This is called The Charm, and I'm afraid it's not about Ukraine. I realize I didn't bring in anything so serious. The Charm. If I make the plans, study the maps, reserve the rooms, and secure the flight, I cannot be stopped from seeing Montana up close. Up close, the techie wants to view my breast, cystic weight so familiar and now so foreign. All pains, old feelings of pinpricks had all been dismissed by many physicians, including all experts. What has changed? Why am I called back again and again? So the charm is implemented. Will I fly this summer to the big sky?
Thank you, Virginia. Very emotional, very beautiful. Okay, going back to the gallery, who was the other? Was that Bruce who I saw waving? Yeah, okay, Bruce. You're on.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, JR, for inviting me to sit in. It's just an amazing night, and it's always great to hear Evelyn read. It's very beautiful. I was I had this published late last year at the Newtown Literary, and I thought it would be a good to read under the current circumstances. It's called Covet. When Zeke Golden says COVID, I always hear covet. Zeke grew up in the Bronx. Maybe they all say covet up there. Covet, as if we broke a commandment and a plague fell upon all of us who live in these times. Are we still sinners in the hands of an angry God who executes judgment on those who covet Europe, the war-torn, oppressive, lily-white continent our ancestors could not wait to flee, on those who reap the tempest, toss the Lady Liberty glazed melting pot of American exceptionalism and shatter it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. All right, let's go back and see if we get others who want to read. Okay, Carolyn, I see you're raising your hand, and we'll get everybody, I promise. Carolyn, you got to come off mute.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you as ever, Evelyn. Always a pleasure. This is not in keeping with the current mood, but I needed it. It's called The Loser. Abandoned in bathrooms, restaurants, hotel rooms, left on buses and trains, donations to the world. I picture a woman dressed in my losings. She stands smiling in the rain in my polka dot poncho, wearing a twisted gold earring, rings on 4 fingers, broken-in sneakers, mismatched leather gloves, a long silk scarf with black and white magnolias. Who will find my last gift, my life? A dozen people raise my umbrellas to the sky, toasting my largesse. Thank you.
Carolyn, well done. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Kathy, over to you.
So, thank you. Evelyn, marvelous read. You know, I want to say that, you know, of all the poems, the one I'll take with me for the rest of my life is the one about your mother and why did you leave me? I think it so speaks to a hard childhood when a mom is away like that. Many movies made about this subject, many books written. So thank you for a very poignant reading. So it's March and spring is this month, but yet it's snowing and raining and doing all the things we hope to be done with. So I have a poem here called March Snow. It was almost too late. The grass had begun to breathe and invite bare feet. Snowdrops flowered between drooping ivy that only considered climbing bare trees. Crocuses randomly made their debut, ordering color into the leftover winter stage. All the while, miniature white flakes fell from a dull sky, claiming its season. All thoughts of spring now painted over with the solitary you. Winter had become aroused, took note and yawned, coveting its time, whispered, mine, mine, mine.
Nice.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Reflecting on that poem and looking at the snow out the window. Okay, so we'll do one last pass here. Look at the gallery. Anyone else who wanted to read? I think we've got everybody. We don't see any. Kathy or Richard, do you see any other folks? I think we got everybody. Okay, so at this point, let's welcome Evelyn back for an encore before we invite Dr. Richard to close the program. Evelyn, you got to turn your mic back on. There you go.
Okay. What would you like from me, Dan? One poem?
You can either one long one or 2 short ones will be fine.
Okay. Well, I guess this is probably long, unless I read fast. Hearing test. I talk sometimes of the noise of silence. This morning, no one else is awake. I'm alone in the kitchen, reading the newspaper, feeding the cat, making coffee, listening. Blue jay has not visited yet. Birds not talking among the branches. There is no wind. Grass is quiet on the lawn. Sky darkening. Rain enters stage left to begin storm, nature's latest play. Listening. Outside the window, giant trees at the edge, unmoving, breakfast dishes empty, wooden table polished, reflecting, listening to me, listen to the noisy, silent room. No ticking clock, no gurgling pipes. Even the ice maker is speechless. What do I mean by sounds in silence? Kitchen around me reverberating, deafening at this early moment, assailing my ears. What ear hears this silent noise? My inner ear, of course. Receiver of messages, deliverer of tidings, disturber of complacency. What else can I do but heed?
Nice.
Do I have time for one more or not?
Go ahead, do one more. Sure,
Okay.
we would love it.
This is a favorite poem. I've always wanted to have a big front porch. I don't have a big front porch. I have, a slab of cement and a couple of steps, but it's my sanctuary. As long as my yellow bird sings, lavender flowers kiss the porch railing. The sky's so blue, I feel it on my skin, and musical calls of a cardinal make me know I found a serene place to write a poem. As long as the empty gray street basks in the sun, scraggly grass struggles to be green, and puffy bushes continue to stand guard at the bottom step, I sense a calm spirit hovering over me as long as my yellow bird sings. While the outside world is frantically working, like our mailman trudging by, head down, unaware, I want to tell him to look around, understand how nothing is more beautiful to watch than lavender flowers kissing the port railing. I'm sorry, that's porch railing. A giant oak commands the yard. Lights like little soldiers line the drive, wait for evening to send illuminated starbursts against the dark. Just as today is brightening, the sky's so blue, I feel it on my skin. Like camouflage, my parakeet's green and yellow feathers make her almost invisible against the leaves. She briefly spreads her wings and beats the air as if to fly from her cage to the far trees to hear musical calls of a cardinal. I have made a small sanctuary on the porch, brought out pen, paper, and winter houseplants. They seem surprised and pleased by the change. I, delighted by my secluded peace, have found a serene place to write a poem. And thank you everyone for the very wonderful comments. I do appreciate it.
Beautiful, beautiful way to conclude, Evelyn. Thank you so much. And Dr. Bronson, I see Mrs. Bronson sitting there. I don't know if Richard is going to come back, or you got to turn your mic on. You don't know? Okay. We'll go.
Well,
Oh, there you are. Okay.
well, first of all, a big thanks to Evelyn, just a wonderful set of poems. And I especially enjoyed your last book where you merged your visual and auditory skills. It looks like a special book. And of course, I want to thank everyone for sharing their poetry, the range, which is so wonderful, the skill, and most important, the sense of community, because I think that we have a world with many problems going on, and I just value the sense of coming together in this way and sharing, and just the feeling, hearing people's thoughts. It's something we all need, and I think we're very lucky that Dan and Kathy have arranged this so we can meet on second Saturdays and enjoy being together. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. And I have to discuss who's coming on next, because it's also very, very timely. I don't know if you can throw up the slide, but it's Carmen Bugan. And Carmen is very special. I mean, she's very special in many ways. First of all, she's a very skilled poet, just a wonderful poet. Of course, she wouldn't be otherwise. But also, she was born in Romania at the time of the dictatorship. And of course, we're now suffering from the throes of a dictatorship. And her father was very active in basically trying to counter that dictator and wound up in jail, incarcerated. And Carmen's early poems basically talk a lot about this and some interesting reminiscences. And then, the family lived and migrated to different places. And ultimately, she came to the States and was educated at the University of Michigan and then to basically to Oxford. So she has a very interesting background that's very timely now for what we're experiencing. And a very recent book, Poetry and Language of Oppression, which is not poetry, but essays worth reading. And a new book that just came out that she just launched recently, a new book of poems. So I'm looking forward to hearing her as we gather again, in a month on the second Saturday. I hope everyone will join us too to listen to Carmen Bugan. Thank you.